You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. Be sure to smash that like button. If you haven't heard yet, LSU running back sophomore Corey Kiner, who had been running the 2 behind John Emery, he has entered the transfer portal, posted the announcement on all the social media earlier today, thanking everyone for the opportunity academically and athletically at LSU and all the staff members, but announcing that his time at LSU has come to an end, that he will move on to the next chapter of his life, and he's entering the transfer portal. So Corey Kiner enters the transfer portal. A couple of things here. You know, during his freshman season, fans and media had really clamored for Corey Kiner. During the first half of the season, which was a struggle for LSU, but during the first half of the season, Kiner was really the most consistent back. If you go back and look at Ty Davis-Price over the first 5 games, it really wasn't good. Ty Davis-Price had 45 rushes for 140 yards and averaged 3.1 yards per carry to start last season. I mean, it was just an objectively bad start to the year for Ty Davis-Price, yet they kept running him out there, and every time Kiner got his chance, he popped off. The Central Michigan game was by far his best game of the early season, and then you had, like in that same Central Michigan game, Ty Davis-Price had 6 rushes for 4 yards. And fans had kind of seen enough at that point and wanted more of Kiner. Well, when you hit the halfway part of the season, really the loss at Kentucky, when Ty Davis-Price in that second half really got going, ran for 147 yards, and then a week later, he set the LSU single-game rushing record with 36 rushes for 287 yards against Florida. And then Ty Davis-Price had a fantastic second half of the season. He ends up averaging 4.8 yards a carry, rushes for 1,000 yards on the season. It really was a nice punctuation for Ty Davis-Price, a Baton Rouge guy who struggled to find his opportunities really in a crowded backfield. And when he got his chance early last year, it didn't go well, and the second half of the season popped off. So Kiner was the number 2, very clear number 2, behind Ty Davis-Price. And with John Emery back this year, he was kind of a very clear number 2 behind John Emery. And I think with Noah Cain coming in June, the Penn State transfer, and then you look at Bradford and Godwin and Josh Williams, you have a very crowded running back room right now. And for a guy like Corey Kiner, he may be looking around thinking, all right, well, Ty Davis-Price went off to the NFL. This was going to be my chance to be the lead back. It clearly isn't going to happen with John Emery there and then Noah Cain coming in. You've got a new staff. Who knows what their expectation is, stylistically, what they're running. Maybe it's just going to suit Corey Kiner to go elsewhere. I do think, by the way, that with a new staff, no matter what, you're going to lose players. Every program after spring always sees players hit the transfer portal. That is an unavoidable reality for every program. You go through spring, guys realize where they're on the depth chart, and they leave. That is indiscriminate. That is every program everywhere. I think it's compounded when you have a new coaching staff as well, because you have guys that maybe were willing to go through spring to see what it was going to be like with this new staff, and once they got a glimpse of it, they said, yeah, this ain't for me, and so they leave. So Corey Kiner's the first. I certainly don't think he's going to be the last. There will be more LSU players that hit the transfer portal between now and the start of next season. The good news for LSU, as I mentioned, is their running back numbers are very good. You have hopefully a healthy John Emery who is now eligible. You have Noah Cain coming in who battled some injury at Penn State, but early in his career when he was healthy, he was every bit a lead back. So you have 2 guys with contrasting skill sets a little bit that could be very good. And then you throw in guys like Goodwin and Bradford on top of that, and then Josh Williams, who's been around for a good while. You've got plenty of talent. You've got plenty enough depth at that position group to make it work however it's going to go. One thing, though, that I think is going to be very interesting to watch, and Brian Kelly talked about this in his pre-spring press conference. He talked about the numbers on the roster. Remember, he inherited, we all know the number, right? They had 39 players for the bowl game. Really, the scholarship numbers were in the 50s, which is still absurdly low. But you had guys that were on scholarship on the roster that were hurt. Like Keishawn Butte is a great example. A guy who was hurt, didn't play in the bowl game, but was still on the roster. So you had 39 scholarship players available. Really, you were somewhere in the low mid 50s. But that still means you're like 30 away from having a full roster of 85. And pre-spring, Brian Kelly did give an update on the roster numbers.
On January 4th, we had 39 scholarship players. As I said, on August 4th, when we report our first day, we're going to get to 84. We might not get to 85, but we're going to be at 84. So we'll get the roster back to where it needs to be in very short order. Mid-years, as you know, we took 17. Look, that is not how I will build a program here.
Okay, that's enough. Thank you. He goes into talking about, look, you're not going to build through mid-years, and we all know that. You're going to build through high school classes. But the point is, him saying you're going to get to 84, remember, you still have a cap on your number of initials. You have your 25 initials. This year, you are allowed to sign 7 over in a 1-for-1 transfer, so 32. So you're allowed to sign 32. So in his mind, he had to be thinking, all right, we're going to sign 32 plus whatever the current number is, which might have been 52. That would put you at 84. Well, you lose Corey Kiner, you don't get to replace that scholarship. You could give the scholarship to a walk-on, but you can't bring in an initial 25 at that point. Your numbers are your numbers, and you got 2 more. And Brian Kelly's talked about, they need tight end, they need offensive line. I think cornerback has really emerged as a spot they need as well. So I don't know how much he's factoring in that, but my guess is you're going to see some of that. You're going to see those numbers have to adjust a little bit when you lose a guy like Kiner, and there's going to be more to come. Flip side of it is a guy like Nick Storrs is back in the program now. So does that swap out 1-for-1? How do they make it work? It's just very clear that for this year, putting together a competitive roster 1 to 85 is going to be very difficult. You're going to have some really deep spots. We talked about, I think defensive line is going to be really good. I think your numbers on the offensive line are pretty good. I think at safety, you're really good. But there's going to be some spots where you're just deficient. So Corey Kiner leaving, you hate to lose anybody with experience, a talented player like that, but you have numbers and talent at running back. You should be fine. Bigger question is, how do they supplement and where do they supplement to get that roster up to a competitive level, which it certainly was not at when Brian Kelly took this job. So Corey Kiner, a kid from Ohio, maybe goes home to Cincinnati. We'll see where he lands. Wish him luck wherever that is. But it clears the room at least by 1 chair in that running back room for how the reps will be divvied up come fall. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.